Hey guys, what's up? This is Evan. Welcome to part 4 of the 2021 Music Licensing Challenge. In this video, we're going to learn how to mix a song for music licensing, and you'll basically see all the steps I take to do that. Before we go farther, though, make sure that you actually sign up for this challenge, not just follow along on this YouTube playlist, but actually click the link below to sign up, because there are some special coaching emails there, some free downloads to help you with your music licensing, and just a little bit more support to really make this your chance to start something new and exciting in the new year. So go sign up for that challenge. Let's watch the intro, and now let's listen to this song. Okay, so you've heard this song before. I'm not going to play it now to begin with. I will note 2 changes I have made, though, since the last time we pulled it up. First, I went from a basic drum kit to what they call the producer drum kit in Logic, which just gives you all the individual drums to control, as well as more control over the room mics and a few other advanced features. I've reorganized the order of the instruments so that they're more logically grouped together, from percussion to sort of transitional effects, and then bass, and then leads, and then rhythm stuff. And also I've bounced the acoustic guitars to audio files so that they're easier to work with, because they don't normally trigger during long chords. And I should probably do that for the organ as well, because these notes are long. Really, you could consider bouncing all of your music to audio, all of your files to audio before you mix. That's often what I like to do, but for simplicity's sake, I'm not doing it today. So we are going to call this organ bounce. So just quickly doing that so that if I were to start the track anywhere, we'll hear that organ sound and be able to deal with it. All right. Now what I want to do is show you one other thing I did, and that is to fix the phase of the snare drum. So if we solo the drums right now, you'll notice they sound decent. But if I turn off this phase, you'll hear the difference. You hear how the snare is kind of... So one of the first things you want to do is just check your music for phase issues. And if you hear something that sounds like it's whooshing or flooshing unwantedly, insert a plugin that lets you invert the phase. Now the next thing we're going to do from here is start focusing on levels and panning for all the tracks. But before we do that, I do want to let you know one thing that you should absolutely do with every track, and that is to create a reference track. What is a reference track? Well, basically you take either a professional song that you really like, or, you can go to a music licensing website and look for their best sellers in your genre of the track you're making. You download that song, and then you can put it as an audio file right up here. Just, include it in your song, and you listen to your mix versus this professional one and see how your song compares, right? Do you have the right amount of low end? How is your panning different? How is your high end? Is it brighter? Is it too bright? Is it not bright enough? Is their song more compressed or less compressed? Just really listen to how their song develops and how yours develops, and compare the two, and use that to inform the choices that you make as you mix your song. Now, one thing to note when you use a reference track is that those tracks have been mastered, so you'll need to turn down the volume of that reference track so that it's roughly the same level as your song. And then once you go to the mastering stage, you can turn that song back up to its natural level and try and match the level of your song to that. The reason I'm not doing it here is because I don't want to get a YouTube copyright strike. There's nothing wrong about using a reference track in your personal life, but if I try and upload this video playing somebody else's song, I could get struck on YouTube, and so I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to use my experience mixing as opposed to the help of a reference track. So what I like to do is set a loop to the loudest part of the song and go from there to start trying to get the levels dialed in before we do anything else. And they're mostly okay, but when I changed the drum kit, we lost a little bit of volume, and I want to balance things even more before we go further. And within the drum kit, I think the kick is a little quiet. The hand claps might be a little loud. I'm going to pan the claps. I'm actually going to pan them to the other side. Because the hi-hat, the tambourine's already on this side. I'm going to move the hi-hat to the other side. Turn up all the toms. Turn down the bass. Pan it out a little bit. I'm going to bring the whirly in. Turn the piano down maybe. Turn the tambourine down. That sounded pretty good as a rough mix to me, but we gotta now listen just to all these other parts where unique things happen. Starting here. And I think those are just the right amount of subtle. One of these two is too loud, so let's see which one it is. I'm gonna turn you down. Maybe it's both, really. Yeah, we'll turn you both down. All right, now let's see that. Maybe still they're both a little too low, just a skosh. Okay. That is a good static mix. As we go along, we might fade some things in and out or do some automated pan, but that's where I want to start from. Now what I like to do is build up the song. We'll go back to the loud part, and we'll start with the drums, and we'll use... Actually, the first thing I want to do is set up... some parallel processing. So let's open the mixer. And here we've got all of our drums. But really, that's just the main kit. And what I want to do is create an effects send. And this is just going to be to use sort of what they call parallel compression. It's going to be a big, boomy, awful sounding, fat mess in the best way possible. And it'll just make the drum sound a little warmer and exciting. So we'll call this parallel comp drums. And what I'm going to do first is send this out at like 50%. And so there's not really any compression on the drums right now. And just to keep it simple, I'm going to just use mostly stock plugins for all of this stuff. So we'll just use the built-in Logic compressor. And what we're going to want to do is classic FET here, which is like an 1176 style compressor. Turn off auto gain, turn off auto release. And we're going to want to probably do 10 dB or something of compression. And also turn on distortion. Let's listen to it. On its own, it sounds awful, but in the context of the mix, this is just going to add a little beef. So let's listen on and off. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Usually when you're using virtual drum sets like this, I would recommend not doing a ton of processing because they're already processed to sound really good. These are professionally recorded, good samples. So don't mess with it too much. I'm going to turn down, I know I had it up 6 dB. I'm just going to use the gain plugin instead because that's the better way to do things. And this will give me more control anyway. So add 6 dB, or more or less of gain. And I am probably not going to add a room reverb because there is already a room. I might add a little bit of reverb, but there's already a room reverb here. So I do want to put a little bit on the kick. I want to put a little bit of get some of that beater sound. So I'm going to turn this on. Narrow it. And I'm just looking for that thwack there. So let's listen to help it cut through a little bit more. claps a little bit. The bottom one has more of this actual rattling. We don't necessarily need more of that, but I do want a little more body in the snare. So I'm going to turn on the EQ. Let's see what's going on with the compressor. That's a probably good amount of compression. Let's listen. Cut off just some of this low mud. Bring out those strings a little bit more. I like the way the high end of the overhead sounds. Maybe we'll see about a. Brings a little bit of warmth. The overheads capture everything, and this just is the same thing I was doing with the snare. A little more beat. I'm also going to create one more parallel channel here, and that is going to be like a distortion channel, and we're going to mix it in very subtly, just a little bit of crunch to help the drums cut through. Although we're also getting a lot from just that distorted compressor, but we'll go to distortion. We'll just use the basic overdrive. Let's see what this sounds like here. You see that sizzle? That's perfect. We're going to turn it way down though. And let's also just hit, we can actually just turn the, now we'll mix it into taste. About right, I think. We're going to turn the overall drums down, but what we're going to do is now create a bus for all of the drums. By selecting these channels, going new, their output is going to be to a new bus, basically. We'll just call this drum bus. We're also going to send the main drums over to that, and this way we can control all of the drums with one control. And we'll also put these the tambourine and the bell tree over there. So now the overall drums are a little loud, but just use a gain plugin again to get them right. So a little hot. I'm aiming for an average of around -14 over here. So now we're going to do a lot of the same stuff on the bass. The bass already has compression on it a little bit when I recorded it. And also, I dialed in the EQ on the amp to get the sound I wanted, but we're going to do more of that using both a parallel compressor to just sort of get some grit, and maybe we'll do a parallel distortion, but maybe not. I gotta send some over there. You can use these same techniques in any DAW. So again, just one of these vintage ones. Add some distortion and no auto gain, and we're looking for a lot of down a bit more. That seems about right to me. And I don't think I'm going to add a parallel compressor or a parallel distortion to that, just because there's no need for any more distortion there. So this is just going to become a bass bus. And both of these basses are going to the same volume control, so I can just easily control it, and we'll make both of these blue. The same blue as the bass. Huh. I think that's the same color. So now we've got the bass and the drums. Now, let's go to the rhythm instruments. So, we've got the guitars. And these are the two that aren't bounced. I'm just going to mute them so I know already. So I want to take all of the rhythm instruments. Well, we'll start with the guitars, actually. So I'm going to mute all the instruments, rhythm instruments, and bring them in slowly. And then we've got some rhythm, some delays and stuff. But we'll get the leads out. Do some EQ. Take out some of that low end. And it sounded a little uglier up here. See, that's just a little harsh. I'm also going to add a stereo imager plugin to kind of push those even farther out. You can use anything. Ozone 9 imager is just a great one. Comes with Ozone, but anything works. And so we'll do modern or enhanced space. This is just a preset, but it's a good one. Without. Just a little farther out in the stereo spectrum. So that's the first acoustic guitar. And now for the second one. Get all that low end out. I actually want a little more low end on this, and then cut out some of this boxiness in the middle. You hear that's kind of honky? use that as a little body. And that's when this high-end energy. That percussive. Now we can turn it down in the mix. Let's get to that organ. And I'm not putting any compression on the guitar because you want it to be lively and bouncy. And it's already a sampled guitar, so like it's not like crazy dynamics like if you were to actually play it by hand. So I'm not going to try and control that. I actually want it to be almost, it's percussion almost. And there's no dynamic changes in the organ, so I'm not going to do much there. More of the high end and less of this honkiness. On the piano, I've already got a little bit of bring out the spikiness, but I think I actually want some of that low end in there. Is it better or worse? Maybe a touch more compression. Let's see. That seems better. We gained some volume there, so I'm just going to bring it down. Actually, just bring it up. And I might also add stereo widener on the other guitar as well, just with a different setting. Spacious high end. Since yep. So now what I want to do Now what I'm going to do is route all of these rhythm tracks to a single bus again, so I can control all my rhythm instruments with one bus, with one volume. And maybe put a little bit of processing on it. I'll just call this rhythm bus. And I'll make you green like all of them. I'm not colorblind, but hard to line it up from afar. I think that's close enough at least. So now we can hear them all. And this is always going to be super useful for your stock music because you might want to create alternate mixes of your song. often you might create a version with no drums or a version with no leads. And so this lets you quickly dial things in. Now we're just gonna take all the percussion, change its color, and send it to a bus. I'll make you, what about this? Cool, brown. New bus. Call it the percussion bus. And I'm not gonna sweat over this. I'm gonna put a little bit of EQ and compression on everything, but nothing too major. Not even audible at the moment, barely. So we'll put an EQ on. And we'll put a gain plug in first just to get some sort of level. Or we can just turn all of these to around the middle. It's going to be loud, so I'm going to turn the gain plugin off. I'm going to put a compressor on this. It's a makeup gain. Turn that kabasa down. Now, we've got these transitional effects, which we'll also send to just like a transitional effect bus. And we'll make this burgundy. And I will also put an image on this just because you want your transition effects to be big. And we'll just do multi-band depth. Finally, the last but not least thing we have to do is dial in the leads. And I've already put some reverb on everything along the way. I might do a little bit more, but this type of music should be pretty immediate, this corporate music, and not soaked in reverb. So I'm honestly not think I'm going to put much more on. I am going to send both of you to a lead bus, first of all. And color coordinate you to be, let's say, orange. I could make an orange you glad joke of some sort, but I'm not going to do that. All right, so it's just having these colors and stuff when you come to bouncing things out, submixes and everything at the end is really essential for stock music. And so is good organization because you might come back to these songs later on. All right, so for the marimba, let's open the EQ. To actually boost the volume coming in a little bit, and then we'll gain it down later. simple instrument in terms of. But I do like this high sound. And let's see about just a simple little compressor on it. Very simple. It's peaking at negative 8, so let's bring it down until you're about 14. And now let's bring in the whirly. And you'll notice I'm kind of boosting areas that are different on each of these sounds to give more separation between them. Not only to enhance the sounds, but like I did a high boost on the marimba, and I'm doing like a mid-high boost on the Wurlitzer. And this will just help everything kind of sound unique and distinct. Take the leads off. Turn them down a bit. Do the same compressor settings. All right, now we're getting near the end, but we're going to look for a few opportunities to do some more automation. Bongo's too loud. And the percussion bus is just too loud. So the first thing I'm going to do is first have this organ fade in a little bit. Let's just zoom in. The organ's going to fade in. The acoustic guitar at the beginning is going to fade in. And the second acoustic guitar is going to fade in to give more movement. Let's start from the beginning again. Just a little more inviting. Fade in just a little faster. The bass already walks in, so it doesn't need that. The drums could probably stand to go up just a little bit. Bus come down just a bit. You know, one will come in at first. Down just a little. Or what we can even do is automate it to come up. So what I'm going to do is take the volume here. And just have it come in, which will add more interest as the song builds up. And so another thing we want to add is, I think this needs to fade out a little bit faster. Organ get louder. Oops, that's the wrong track. The organ get louder in the final chorus, just to spice things up a little bit. This hit also needs to end sooner, like earlier. And I think the drums overall can be a little louder still. So just go to the drum bus and bump that up a little bit louder. the last thing I need to do is change the stereo width of all of these channels that they're wide, because Logic does this in an interesting way. So now let's see. I think that sounds pretty good. In the final video, what we'll do is we'll put some processing on everything, master the track, upload it, and learn the types of edits you should make. And I'll actually upload it directly onto Palm 5, and we'll talk about tagging, keywords, all of that. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. And again, be sure to click on that link to sign up and join this whole challenge, even if you haven't, just so you can get your free downloads and some of the additional email lessons in there. All right, see you tomorrow for day 5.